is Beth Myers of Arrival Coaching, Law of Attraction Empowerment Coach, mentor, and speaker with the Thrive Movement Community Guides interview series. This month, our focus is thriving with your finances. So today, I have a friend and a fellow coach, Jane Helm. And so, Jane, I'm so happy that you are here today.
Well, Beth, I can't tell you how much I appreciate this opportunity to talk about what I do.
Well, I'm so glad that you are able to take the time today and share a little bit more about yourself and how you bring light into this world around finances and people dealing with the emotions that go along with money. So can you tell us a little bit about, what you do in your coaching and mentoring programs that you have?
Sure. I work with all types of clients. I work with clients that may have an enormous amount of debt facing them, and it feels like a mountain, and they're overwhelmed. And I have clients that maybe have been really good savers and really have, it seems on the outside like their money is all in place, but now they need help in learning how to make decisions, I'd say lifestyle choices, that are going to continue to serve them in a positive way. I work with couples who may have been raised very differently with money, and now they need help in finding common language, common goals, and starting points so that their relationship with money is on the same page. I also teach financial literacy classes, which is one of my favorite things to do. I feel that so many people have been underserved in learning how money works. So I have a couple different facets of what I do, but each one I do feel I'm bringing light to this topic. I had my own struggles with money and went through quite a transformation and want to be, I guess I would use an analogy of a lighthouse for people that are in a financial fog, guiding them towards maybe a safe harbor where they can start talking about their money and confiding in me.
Oh, that's I love that beautiful analogy that you just shared, and how important that is in our world today, to help people bring forth their own light around money and their finances, whether it's, coming out of debt, whether it's learning how to manage their money as a couple, because each person brings their own, I would imagine, brings their own story with them. So let me ask you this. What do you like best about your work with people and working with money?
Well, that's a hard one to answer. It's hard to pick what I like best, but I will say that the relationships I make with my clients are so meaningful, and I get a lot out of them as well. We can't talk about our money without talking about our lives, and we can't talk about our lives without talking about money. By working with people at their starting point, whatever that is, I'm providing a safe environment where it may be the first time that they've ever opened up to anyone about money. And it's something I wish I had had available to me years ago. My other favorite part is when my clients start using words like excited, positive, pumped. That's truly a sign of a transformation that I'm so honored to be a part of. And then I think my very favorite part is the ripple effect that this kind of coaching has. When people start feeling more positive about their money, it spills over into almost every other aspect of their life. So I'd say that's really my favorite part.
I love that. It's like with anything that we put out there into the world, it creates, our actions create a ripple. And especially when we're putting those positive things out there and focusing on what we really want, that ripple effect just spreads. That's a wonderful way to capture what you like about your work and your play with people, because that relationship part is so important, and connecting with people. And I love what you were saying about how people start to feel excited and positive and pumped. I mean, those are just emotions that all of us want to have as much of the time as possible. And especially when it's something that's really difficult sometimes to have conversation about or to talk about, which is money.
Well, sure. We're conditioned from a very young age not to talk about money. It's something that we learn really early. It's a taboo subject. We don't ask people how much they make. We don't ask people how much they owe. And we learn that it's really a secret. So I find in our society so many people are really speculating about their friends and their neighbors, like, ooh, how are they affording that house or that car? Wonder how much they make. Wonder how much they owe. And we're all kind of living in this secret world, and it creates an environment within us where we are hiding some of those negative emotions. We're hiding shame. We're hiding guilt. We're hiding the overwhelm because it isn't okay to feel that way. We're taught, that we have to act like everything's okay. And I'd like to take the topic of talking about our finances to another level where it is okay. And by working with clients, they start to understand that I'm not only empathetic, but I have the financial knowledge to help them.
Yeah, that's a great pairing. So what made you decide to become a financial coach?
Well, I feel, Beth, like my whole life led me to this calling. It's interesting because I grew up being terrible at math. I was intimidated by it, and I felt like I was too stupid to do math. Even in college, I was the one that stayed after every class for extra help just to pass math classes. And as I grew a little older, maybe the first couple of years of our marriage, I know that that's when I had my own dysfunctional relationship with money. And when I give presentations, I talk about my money story. And it's something I encourage people to begin thinking about theirs. Our money story holds the keys to any kind of financial self-sabotage that's taking place. I always say that God works in mysterious ways because during this most dysfunctional part of my relationship with money, I got a job in financial services. And it was almost laughable, like I'm getting a job that has to do with numbers. And I did start learning how money works. And I did start doing that kind of math where you're calculating internal rates of return and time-weighted return and time value of money. But the most important part of that career that I had for over a decade, well over a decade, was that I was observing the behaviors of clients. And I saw such a disconnect between the money and their emotions. We had clients that were millionaires that had huge fear about their money. And on the other side of the coin, there were people with little or no assets that wanted to take huge risks with their money. So I started really noticing this and having input with clients about their behavior with money. And I think having my degree in social work combined with that financial services experience led me to this passion to help people with their emotions and behavior with money.
Wow. Thank you for sharing your story.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I went
I
from being
love
terrified of numbers to now dealing with them all the time, right? And
right,
loving it.
right. That is amazing, and I just I hope that um, some parents and children will listen to some of your story of how important it is to not be stuck in a mindset of I can't do something or I'm no good with
Correct.
that. I'm not good
My
with money,
starting
and I
it
think go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but my starting
That's
point with
okay.
all of my clients and in all of my
Right.
presentations is anything is possible. Anything. And I'm living proof. To
Mhm.
go from struggling, thinking I couldn't do this math to now working with in a financial arena, um, anything is possible. Anything. So never lose hope and never think that, oh, I'll never be able to do X or Y. You may be put in a situation where you really learn how to do something and then it becomes a passion.
Yes, yes. Well, and your story just affirmed that because having a fixed mindset of a lot of those can'ts and I'm no good at this. We if we can embrace things as wow, this is a new learning opportunity to learn something new and for me to get better at embracing money in particular. Do you think that women have um, their own stories around money that may be a little different than men? What's been your experience and what have you observed as you've mentored and coached people regarding their money?
Well, in regards to your question about women, I think the older generation of women, maybe women my age and older, I've seen a lot of them that kind of delegated the money to their husbands, or their husbands were the ones that kind of handled the finances.
Mhm.
And a lot of women, unfortunately, become widowed, and they do not know where to start with money. They're not only overwhelmed by the loss of their spouse, but they've never really taken the time to sit down and understand how all of the accounting has worked. So I've seen terror in that group of women.
Mm.
I
Mhm.
think the younger group of women, a lot of us, you, me, a lot of women, are now becoming entrepreneurs. And that's a whole nother layer of money management. And it is something that I have lots of entrepreneurs as clients because they're trying to learn by working with me how to leverage the numbers that they're looking at. We look at things like what's a revenue generating activity versus how many hours are you spending on the busyness of your business. I think that the younger women, the millennials, if you will, haven't had a solid foundation in how to handle money. So that's one of my target groups when I teach financial literacy.
Mm. Tell us a little bit about what that looks like for um, your that group of um, people that you're doing this teaching and mentoring with. What kinds of things do you cover?
Well, I have written a workbook and we start always with the emotion with money because I believe that our core beliefs drive our emotions, and our emotions drive our behavior. So with every financial literacy class I teach, we start with the emotional part of money. We move on to the basics of budgeting and why budgeting is so important. Millionaires use a budget. They know their budget for every part of their life and they stick to it. And in every budget, there is a section for long-term savings, but there's also sections for personal spending. So budgets to me are extremely powerful. I also go into banking with this age group because so many of them don't understand how their bank accounts even work, what that terminology is, how the banks make money off of them, how to be a smart consumer with a bank, how to write a check. So many of my students have never written a check, and there will come a time when they need to learn how to do that. How to keep track of what they're spending and what their deposits are. I think the disconnect for this age group is the debit card. You know, when I was growing up, there was no such thing, so I actually kept a checkbook register, and we actually physically wrote out checks, and we put it in our checkbook register. Now there's a disconnect because it's a swipe of a debit card. So that is a big lesson for this group. I touch on how investments work, just the basics, so that they have a cursory understanding of how powerful investing can be. And I even go as far as retirement accounts. And for 20-somethings, I kind of get a look like, what is this woman doing talking to us already about retirement? But when I go into things like compound interest and returns in a stock market, I try to show them the power of starting early. So it's a lesson, group of lessons that kind of build on each other, but always start with the emotions.
Wow, that's amazing. How do you feel that this group in particular that you teach these lessons to in more of a classroom kind of is it a classroom format or is it a virtual
Yep.
environment?
It's in a classroom setting. I'm live.
Yeah.
Live
Right.
in front of a class. Yep.
Great. How do you feel that group of people receive the information? Are there a lot of ahas and you know, or you know, what's some of the response that you've had from some of those client students that you have?
The response is at first they're kind of lost. I can see it in their eyes. Again, I'll go back to that fog, that financial fog.
Right.
I find so interestingly that when I walk around downtown Frederick and in Annapolis where I teach these classes, so my former students are the ones that find me, that see me. They call me the money lady. They're like, hey, you're the money lady. And they're like, thank you so much for that class, because now they're out in the real world and they wish they could come back and have a do-over with me. They do get to keep my workbook, but it's almost a delayed reaction, trying to put some of these lessons and strategies into place in their own lives. So I'm giving them that initial information. I'm giving them tools and strategies, but it's not until they're out in the real world working on this that they're like, oh, now I get why I needed to learn this. In the classroom itself, I think it's important. I have activities that we do to keep them engaged and little games we play. But I do meet with some resistance in the classroom sometimes. So it's usually a delayed reaction.
Yeah. I can imagine that you know, a lot of times it's the teaching, the information is coming, and then it's the real world experience of, wow, this is so important as they really truly get into and experience it. Just as in, you know, any kind of learning where you're learning in a classroom setting, and then until you apply it and use it, it's you know, it sinks in more.
Sure. I think that's where the aha moments take place, is out in the real world.
Yeah, definitely. Can you share a success story from one of your clients, say maybe a couple that you've worked with, or somebody
Sure.
you've helped kind of with their money story, kind of shifting that?
I've worked with a client recently, a couple, and I'll call them Spendy Wendy and Saver Sam. And Saver Sam takes great pride in looking at numbers, big numbers in retirement accounts and big numbers in the savings account, and works really, really hard at that accumulation. That's where his pride comes in. But he's married to someone that has more of the money story of you can't take it with you, or, that YOLO, you only live once, and is spending it, and it causes conflict because they're on opposite sides of this money. And working with them, we worked on, first of all, some common language around money and maybe some keywords that they can use with each other so that their communication is enhanced around money. We worked on setting some common goals around money, and it involved using some compromise on both sides. So now they are on a track where they have regular money talks, where they are checking in with each other. They have decided on a dollar amount that can be spent by either one of those people in the couple without checking in with each other, but have promised each other if it's over that dollar amount that they need to check in. And now they are experiencing a new joy around their money. So that is a success story to me.
Oh, yes.
Money is the number one cause of divorce in our country. So if I can work with a couple to find that commonality, to find that common language, to use power words that they both recognize, and to learn to compromise and understand each other's money story, then we have some solid ground for them to continue on a path that is leading to abundance, but where they're both having joy with the money.
Oh, that is just such a great summary of what is so important in life. Having that joy in our lives, feeling empowered, creating that abundance. And, excuse me, a lot of times people forget that those things are what we are meant to have in our life. It's not the struggling and just the surviving. It's really the thriving. And you help people to be able to do that. And I am so excited to hear some of the different things that you, ways that you work with people, not just teaching for some 20-something new people that are wanting to go into business, as well as couples, and helping increase that communication, creating compromise, cooperation, and really bringing about that empowerment at whatever place you are with your money story.
Correct.
So I really appreciate you being here with me today for this Thrive Movement interview. Is there anything else that you can think of that you would like to share about, any new programs that you have coming up, new initiatives, something else that you'd like to, some parting words that you'd like to leave with us that have to do with how to be more empowered with our money?
Well, I'd like to point out that I've talked about the emotional transformation that occurs with this type of coaching, but there is also a more tangible result. My clients have a new focus on how to make financial decisions that result in a positive outcome. They're learning how to prioritize goals. I take them from their starting point, whatever that is, and we collaborate. It's a collaboration on strategies that are short-term steps that lead to those long-term changes. And as we work together, the clients are learning how to be more confident. My tagline is, I coach financial confidence. So they're learning how to be more confident. As far as future initiatives, I am going to be giving workshops on just the money story. how to start that process of understanding your money story. So people can look for that on my website or my Facebook page. And I do have a couple other initiatives that are coming up that are in the baby stages, so I'm not quite ready to share them yet, but I know 2017 is going to be a very exciting year in my business and what I'm offering to people.
Oh, I can tell that, Jane. And how would someone go about getting in touch with you to learn more about what you already are currently doing and some of those new initiatives that will be burst into the world in 2017?
Well, one way is to visit my website, which is www.moneymentorgroup.com. They can contact me through there. They can also email me at jane@moneymentorgroup.com or reach out to me on the phone. I think that's the scariest way people reach me. I'm always humbled when they call, but my number is 301-418-1488, and I'm available during normal business hours and even sometimes a little later. And I try to get back to people within 24 business hours. So I am available by email and phone and on my website.
Awesome. And do you have a Facebook page? I think you mentioned that earlier.
Yes, I do. It's Money Mentor Group.
Great.
On Facebook. And I have an Instagram. So if people are into that part of the social media, I do have an Instagram for Money Mentor Group as well.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Well, Jane, I have so appreciated your time, your energy, your work that you do in the world and bringing more light to our own money stories and the emotions around them and how to shift that money story into what we really desire. And so I really, really thank you for being here today with me. And please, if you'd like to learn more from Jane, feel free to contact her. I will provide that information on the post that will be shared. And thank you again so much, Jane.
Well, Beth, I so appreciate this opportunity to talk about this passion. And in parting, I'd like to say, think about what you'd like your next chapter of your money story to be. Let me help you write that chapter where you're no longer the victim, but you're the hero of your story.
I love that. I love that. And you are helping with this Thrive movement as a community guide in our local community in the Frederick County, Maryland area. And I invite everyone to check Jane's website information out. And this is Beth Myers of Arrival Coaching with the Thrive Movement Community Guides interview series. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you hopefully next month. Take care.